So I'm a virgin speaker, so please be gentle. So I'm sort of talking about, all this in our schools really. And what parents can possibly, do about it. So they're coming for your children if they haven't captured them already, because I know loads of kids have been captured already. LGBT Youth Scotland has been and is funded massively by the Scottish Government and is one of the many government-funded trans organisations responsible for indoctrinating our children in schools. There are more, but LGBT Youth Scotland are key. So even after their CEO, James Rennie, I mean, I'm probably repeating stuff that's been, talked about before, and I'm sure you're all aware, how James Rennie was jailed for running the worst paedophile ring Scotland has ever seen. And although it is currently being investigated for grooming and historical sex abuse, no government investigation in LGBT Youth Scotland has ever been done. Yet it is so involved in so much to do with the education of our children, consulting on RSHP used in nurseries and schools, on the recent Care Inspectress transgender guidance that Jane talked about earlier. Children in care, so another vulnerable group of persons to exploit, getting paid by primary and secondary schools for accreditation into their money-making schemes. And all those organisations you thought had our best interests at heart start to sound like scary nutters. At present, the World Health Organization is under pressure to withdraw guidance for schools, recommending that toddlers ask questions about sexuality and explore gender identities. It recommends that children under the age of 4 should be told that they have the right to ask questions about sexuality and the right to explore gender identities. That children aged 4 and under should be taught about enjoyment and pleasure when touching one's own body and early childhood masturbation. These topics are described as the minimal standards that need to be covered by sexuality education, not sex education, but sexuality education. So looking to current teaching of RSHP in schools, a recent survey in UK schools showed that a third of pupils said they'd been taught that a woman can have a penis. A fifth said they had learned that a man can get pregnant. 2/3 said they knew someone who wanted to or had already changed gender. And a quarter said RSE lessons included bondage, domination, and sadomasochism. I know. This is damaging to impressionable and sometimes vulnerable youngsters. We need to let our children know that people should be accepted, whatever their race, religion, sexuality, appearance, etc. But they need to be taught biological facts, and what's taught at the moment as sex education needs to be reassessed. Kids can be as gender non-conforming as they like and reject regressive sexual stereotypes without needing a trans label. Teaching of gender ideology is an accepted fact, along with inappropriate sex education, has been slowly snuck into our schools. They're indoctrinating and sexualising children from nursery through primary and secondary, and this has huge safeguarding issues. Children can't consent and don't have the intellectual competence to know the impact all this might have on them. It's a big social experiment. So RSHP as it stands needs to be paused, and an independent review similar to the CAS review needs to take place. But what can parents and concerned individuals do in the meantime? I don't know if everybody knows, but parents have the right to take their child out of any lesson. Parents I know have done this with RSHP lessons they're uncomfortable with, and at one local primary near me, over 1/3 of the children have been removed. There is legislation in Scotland that supports parents doing this. Talk to your children. It can be difficult if they're teenage and captured, so go gently with them, but when they're young, just talk to them about things like the lie that's gender ideology, know that humans can't change sex, so people can only pretend to do it. Chat with them about what's going on at their school. Sometimes it's quite difficult to talk to your kids, because they're not very forthcoming, but just find a way to gently talk with them about what's going on so we can keep an eye on what is happening. Talk to other parents, your friends, your family. You can just start with something neutral. If it's another parent you don't really, you don't know where they stand, you can start with something neutral like, what do you think about all this fuss with teaching about sex and relationships in schools, and just gauge it from there. Open up a conversation with your school, email right to your head teacher, because it's always good to have a paper trail. Some friends recently managed to organise a meeting with their head about RSHP, and we're catching up about it this week. Start a small WhatsApp group or similar with a group of like-minded friends or parents to share info and support each other. Twitter can be very useful for information and support. You don't have to join in any conversation, but it's a good resource for different views, articles, legislation, just for keeping up to date with stuff. Write to your local MP or councillor. Although so many of them are captured, I just give up with my one, who's Alison Thewlis, who's useless. Join Scottish Union for Education, it's free, and they're doing lots of good work. The Save Our Schools Scotland's really an invaluable resource. And for the UK, there's the Safe Schools Alliance, which is worth following, but they're more England-based. And keep vigilant and aware of what's going on, because we've got quite a fight on our hands. But I did, manage in our local area just to sort of like get together with some parents, with friends of mine, and we've expanded that and sort of like let other parents know. And we organised like a little private meeting that was about 30 or 40 people. And from there, it's just sort of growing, but it's given parents confidence to go and do things like approach schools. And yeah, so it's really worth trying to get a little group together of like-minded people, because yeah, we just need to stick together with this. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you very much.